and that the air can quietly come in and out of your nose, and the sternum goes quiet. And what else? So I'm being a bit outcome oriented here. I mean, life will continue if we have to finish off a bit of head circling beginning of next week, but there's a sense of, completion if we can start afresh on Monday. So that was very nice, observing you working in this sort of way of where your hands can go from simply shining the torch, as it were, to maybe having a little bit of an influence or not, or posing a question or making a comment, something like that. And we'll talk more about this next week. It requires greater finesse. So going along for the ride requires a great deal of finesse so that you don't get in the way. And then for you to make a suggestion, it sort of ups the ante again. Maybe you notice that, maybe not. But that's traversing those different kinds of conversations with our hands is going to take the next lifetime after this one. Okay, so you're lying on your back and that feels lovely. You've had a moment to reacquaint your attention with yourself, having shared your attention with somebody else. And come up to sitting and have the soles of your feet together in front of you and gently hold on to each ankle. So one hand, right hand on right ankle and left hand on left ankle. And quietly, slowly and gently make little circles with your head, starting wherever you like, as small as you like. How do you reacquaint yourself with this movement that we haven't done for a few days in this orientation? And is your awareness of your sternum and your thoracic spine and your shoulder blades heightened from your partner's informative touch? Has that made a difference to the quality of your attention or the movement of your attention as well as the movement of your skeleton? And the ability for your spine to change shape. Your ability to track your spine changing shape. Now, interestingly, for most people, your circles are smaller and they look more considered, don't you think, Beck? They're not very dramatic. They're really introspective, aren't they? They've got this really inward quality, which we can see. Change the direction of the circle if you haven't already. And what I'm noticing is how quickly you can all drop your attention to deeply within yourself, having all been very extroverted just now, working with each other. How quickly you can reverse that direction of attention to going right deep within yourself. It's a very palpable quality in the room, like collectively as well as individually. It's impressive to do that. An adaptable brain is such a healthy brain. And notice if there's any change in where your knees are in relation to the floor as you go around. So we haven't been paying that much attention to knees for a while. But is there some sense that the head bone is connected to the knee bone? Via what? Leave that and now come to standing on your knees so that your pelvis is high, it's off off the floor rather, and you're standing on your knees. Take a moment to find the space between your knees. That means that you feel stable. However, it's an inherently unstable position. So how do you find stability in something that is far less stable than sitting on your bum? If you need little pads under your knees, that's fine. And now pop your left hand on top of your head and imagine that it's your partner's hand in a way. You've just done this. Start to make little circles with your head in this position. Now, if you feel very unstable, you can leave your eyes open. If you feel like you're okay, you can close your eyes. Do whatever you need to do to be stable and curious. Okay. Yep. Just you can either pad up or you can kneel. It's fine. Just knowing that if you like that, it's fine. But you can do one leg. You're asymmetrical, but yeah, left hand. That's it. So keep going with that movement, and now imagine that it's the elbow making the circle. So by changing your intention, instead of the head making the circle, it's the elbow making the circle. Of course, the configuration is still the same. The hand is glued to the head in that special Feldy immediately dissolvable glue. Whenever you want it to dissolve, it dissolves glue. And is the circle, if the point of your elbow was a pencil, what plane would that circle be in? The plane of the side wall, the plane of the front wall, the plane of the ceiling, across all three, across two? Don't know, don't care. They're the multiple choice questions for that test today. And do you make the movement smaller so that you can maintain your stability in this rather unstable position? Unstable and somewhat unfamiliar. Okay, leave that. Now come down to sit on inside sitting so that your feet are sort of to the left of you. So your right leg's in front and your left leg is a little bit behind. You can rest, take a little bit of weight on your right arm if you want to. You don't have to, you can just let it be on the floor. And again, have your left hand Feldy glued to the top of your head. And begin to make head circles in this position. And what changes now? So you're slightly more stable, however you're asymmetrical. So does this influence the size and the shape of the circle, the speed of the circle, the circleness of the circle? Does it influence where the circle is happening within you, within your neck, between your shoulder blades, in the shoulder blades, in the chest, front of the chest, the back of the chest, the right side of the chest and the left side of the chest? In the belly, and therefore in the small of the back? pelvis that's nestled on top of the thigh bones, in the hip sockets. If you haven't changed direction in the circle, please do so. Take your left hand away and do a few circles with just your right hand on the floor. Doesn't have to take too much weight if your wrist's a bit tweaky. It's just there. And now make some circles when your head is somewhat more free or not. And take your hand off. Yeah. The feldy glue dissolved. Change the circle. Good. Leave it and rest on your back. Good. Roll up to sitting. And same side sit position so that your feet are to the left. And now, this is a little bit weird, but find a place where you can put your left hand on the floor. So somewhere behind you. And again, you choose how much weight you want to give to it, but it's the left hand on the floor behind you. Yes, it made me frown too when I first read that. There, that'll do. Frowning never helps. Or does it? Does it help? Frowning, yes, makes movement easier. Now put your right hand on top of your head, and in this position, begin to make some head circles. And so much stuff to notice when you're sitting up like this. We haven't mentioned the eyes for a while. You can stretch that out. You get the idea. It's an asymmetrical thing. Yeah, you get the taste. Exactly. It's kind of labouring the point in many different orientations, this lesson. Yeah. Yep. So with this configuration, with your left shoulder relatively fixed, your left shoulder blade relatively fixed, you're turning around sort of there's a different part of you that you have to turn around, as it were. Yeah, right. So it's interfering with your habit. There's something about the way you really like using your left shoulder. Now that we've taken it out of the picture, it's having a little tanty. Looks okay. What are you talking about? Does it feel funny? Yeah. And again, where's the circle? Is it more on the ceiling? On the top of the head, or is it sort of a circle that tips forward? Does it make a cylinder around you or more of a ball? Change direction. So this might make you feel better, Angela. It says, notice it's a little bit harder, isn't it, in this configuration? When is it harder? When is it more difficult for you? Does your pelvis still move? So the teacher is anticipating that this will discombobulate some people. Just for a few circles, change your intention so that it's your elbow that's making the circle. And again, if there was a pencil on the end of your elbow, where would the circle be drawn? Where would you put the paper? What plane would the paper be in that would capture that circle, the end of the pencil? Just rest in sitting for a moment. If you lie down, you just have to get up again in 5 seconds, so you might as well make use of your capacity to rest in sitting. Yeah, so sit with your legs to the left again. So you're sitting on the right butt, right side sit. Now bring your left hand up and put the back of your index finger pointing down the left temple. So yeah, that's it. So the nail on the back of the left index pointer finger are pointing down. And now keeping your arms still, can you make a circle with your head around the finger? Diabolic. Oh, I love this lesson. So how could you? How could you? Yeah, so the finger stays still and you have to sort of tuck your head around that still finger. No, so the contact is constantly changing. The left finger stays in the same place. So it starts off touching the left temple, but then you actually turn your head around so that the head slides around the finger. So the finger stays in space, but not on the same point of your head. Yeah. It's almost like, the tip of your finger is going to trace a circle around the top of your head. There is an allusion here to a really bad haircut in the notes. And I remember having a bowl cut. There's a photo of me as like a 3-year-old girl with a bowl cut like this. Very unattractive. Very unattractive. My sister and I had matching bowls. So it's kind of like you're tracing that cut around your head, but your head's moving and your fingers staying in the same space, not the same position in relation to your head. So you find a way for your head to tuck sort of into the crook of your arm. You can reverse the cut. Next time your head and your finger back in that original starting position, so the back of your fingers on the left temple. Now keep your head still and trace your finger around the head. So it's actually the same change of contact, but it's your arm moving and your head staying still, and your hair is getting completely... No, it can go into any part of the finger. Yeah. Peter Pointer. You want to use your Rudy finger. Yeah. And Raymond hasn't got that index finger, so you have to use your birdie finger. If you used what's left of your first finger, you'd have a really, really, really short haircut, wouldn't you? Index. You were using the pointer, number 1 finger. And reverse the circle of your finger tracing around that bad haircut. And what I haven't said, though maybe you always do it, is that you notice what else is moving to allow this to happen. And then next time that finger gets stopped, you can stop at the left temple and your head starts to move again and your finger stays still. So your head moves around your finger again. So you can go in both directions, and you can have do the opposite moves where your finger stays still and your head traces around. Your head stays still and your finger traces around. And what's happening? Is there anything happening in your pelvis, or is this so diabolical that it warrants freezing your pelvis into a block? And to stop breathing? Is it so important that you get this haircut correct that you are willing to forego oxygen? Is that how important this is? Well, for some of us, haircuts are that important. And before you rest, some of you are too late, make a little head circle with your right hand down on the floor and just let your left hand rest, and just do a head circle with no nonsense, a no nonsense head circle once or twice to satisfy this little reference movement that we're doing in many different positions. Good, and rest on your back for a moment. And roll up to sitting. This time sit on the left buttock, so your feet are going to the right. And have your left hand on the floor somewhere comfortable to the left of you. And bring your right arm up to point to the ceiling and glue your right ear to the inside of your right arm. That's it. And so your elbow's straight. That's it. And now pretend that the feldy pencil is in your fingertips, and draw a circle in the air with your fingers. And your ear and your arm are glued together. It's as soon as everybody's arms are, it gets your attention. It's like you all want my attention because your arms are. I I immediately kind of prick up my ears like, what do you all want? What do you all want? Okay, you can all go to the toilet or whatever. So innate, this hand up as a beckoning gesture. It's really funny. So where's the circle? Again, if I was going to place the paper to capture the tip of the pencil, what plane would that paper be in? It's very different. I think we'll have a look at this on Monday because it's worth not rushing through. It's very interesting because there's so many degrees of freedom with your trunk unfettered like this, relatively unfettered. And so the patterns are amazingly different. The frowns are quite unique. And change the direction of the circle. So what's happening? Where is this movement happening? Is it all in the neck? There's something in between the shoulder blades? There's something between the chest and the belly? There's something in the hip joints? Do a few more circles with your left hand off the floor. So, because when the left, just in case you didn't realize, right arm stuck. You can rest your arm when you need to. However, the next time you do the circle with your arm up, have the left hand free, so it's no longer a constraint. So you don't have to pivot around that left shoulder, that left arm anymore. Can you sense that where you're turning from will change subtly when that left hand comes off the floor. Maybe something different happens in the two hip joints. Reverse the circle. And there's a nice instruction here is rest your right arm before it turns that pretty blue colour. It says that. It's the Larry joke. Larry's worse than me. Is he? No, probably not. Alan's worse than me. Jenny and Ruth are just quietly looking down and away. Oh dear. So Larry and Alan did the Adelaide trainings. That's why I know them so well. We've taught a lot together. Larry has sworn that he will never team teach with me and Alan ever again. Because when the three of us are together, it's very bad. Very, very bad. It gets very messy. Not good. So how is it lying on the floor having a little rest? Is it still stirring the pot? In my head, I call these lessons the stirring the pot lessons. Roll up to sitting. And have your feet to the right. And this time, put your right arm on the floor, a little bit behind you, somewhere where you can have it loosely anchored. You don't have to lean on it particularly. So that's your right hand on the floor, that's it. And your left arm up into the air, and glue your left ear to your left arm and begin to make circles with your left arm in this position. And is that different? Yes, it's different because it's a different arm. How does it change the pathway of the movement? Change the direction. Stir the pot. So for some people, these are all different variations to awaken different parts of you that may or may not be apparent to you. And if, believe it or not, we can make it even a little bit harder. So bring your left arm down and put your right hand back on top of your head and start to make the head circle. So this is slightly familiar. You can rest very gently on your left hand if you need to, behind, so it'll be a bit behind you. And start the circles, make them slow and sustainable. And now very gently start to lengthen your legs out in front of you and change them over to the other side without interrupting the circling of the head. And taking in some oxygen by way of breathing. So your left hand can slide and move, the left hand on the floor to help you if it needs to, and that the head and the right arm continue to circle. And then once your legs get to the left, you could bring them back to the right again. And how do you, again, do this weird thing of turning two very, very complicated movements actually into one thing? How do you turn changing gears and steering into one function of driving? Such a fantastic neurological achievement. You could argue that this ability to associate two different things and put them together is one of our main learning achievements as human beings. Because it means that we can chain up a whole lot of complex things, simple things into complex. Rest somewhere and sitting for a moment. If you want to try, you can try, try is a funny word, you can have a crack at interlacing your fingers and putting your hands on top of your head, making a circle in one side sitting, and then swap over to the other side sitting, or not, or you can sit this one out. It's a ridiculously, it's a party trick. It's a work towards. Beautiful. Cool. And rest. Full rest on your back. That's it. Roll down, kaplomp. Beautiful. So ask the floor a really clear question. What's the influence of all those bizarrities on me, on you, on your system? What can the floor tell you if you ask it? That, how clearly do you ask it? How clearly does it answer? What's the shape of your spine? Do you remember from Monday that kind of baseline? Is it the same spine? Is it a different spine? Well, parts of it are different. You've replaced quite a few cells over the course of 5 days, so physiologically it's a bit different. Anatomically, is it any different? Sensorially, it's bound to be a bit different. So let's put it through a few reminder movements. Roll up to sitting and have the soles of your feet together. And remember this movement. So you're leaning on your elbows, actually, on the floor. The soles of your feet are together. We'll just go through a few reminders from earlier in the week for you to have a little, like a little taste of what the influence of these lessons might have been. So in this movement in particular, in this position, do you remember, well, firstly, being in the position might be different, right? Because if your chest is easier, if it's easier for your chest to sink down between your shoulder blades, it's easier for your head to nestle on top of your chest. So that's one thing that might be different. And now do that movement of letting your head hang back and then bringing your chin forward. And what can move out throughout the whole of you to allow your head to do this beautiful arc all the way back and all the way forward. And that image of the C curve coming forward, the nose and the pubic bone coming forward, and then they're going away from each other, and the belly can puts out and the sternum can kind of raise to the sun, as it were, like a bit of a sun worshipper. Like you want to get the sun in your belly button. You want to get a tan in the deepest part of your belly button. That's it. And a few circles now in this position for the head. They can be as small as you like now. What we're interested in, of course, is the precision of them, the accuracy of them. So allowing the head to pendulum around to the right shoulder and rolling over the chin on the sternum and then over to the left ear and back again. Oh, very lazy. And then roll it back again. And do you have enough attention left in the end of a very long week to sense the influence of the movement all the way down to the soles of your feet? Beautiful. Good. Now sit up with the soles of your feet together and hold on to your ankles. So we're just unwinding history, holding onto your ankles and making a little head circle each way, just a couple to satisfy yourself, because we did this earlier this afternoon. And you get that, is there a flavour of that same sense of the spine changing shape as when you're on your elbows? And the ability for the front of you to shorten and the back of you to lengthen, and then the back of you to shorten and the front of you to lengthen. That's it. Change the direction of the circle. And then the movement that we actually started the week with, do you remember? Leaning on your hands with your fingers facing forward. So your legs, the soles of your feet weren't together, your legs were just crossed. And go ahead, revisit, re-explore. How do you go back in time to remember what this was? To be able to track what's changed. Or you could just lower and take it back first. Yes, yep, that's exactly what we did first. Yep, do that. Just lower the head and let it go back. And then find a way to grow it into a circle. Thank you. See, there's the memory of the young. It's beautiful. That's it. That's really rewalking in the steps of your, now noticing the sternum and the belly. And can the pelvis continue to move like it did in all those other positions? So that you can stir the pot all the way down to the floor. Stir the pot all the way down to your toes. Yep. Change over your legs if you need to. Change the direction of the circle. Go wee. You go to a death metal concert tonight and do windmills. That's it. You've got to take your hair out of the ponytail eventually to do a full windmill. You've got to have your hair just and bleach it. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. You got it. Oh, with the ponytail, it's a helicopter. With your hair loose, it's the windmill. Great, good. Lie down. You want one more rest on your back? Bye, Sue. Safe travels. We're finished now. You heard everything. I won't say anything more. Yeah. Now the secret is, oh, whoops, she hasn't gone. What Feldenkrais really is, it's great. Feldenkrais is tops. Does that satisfy you? Well done, team. What a week. What a week. You've mastered head circles. You've taught ATM. Got your driver's license. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, senior citizens. Oh, we've got more for next week. Don't you worry. We got a bit distracted from the senior sits. We had an interview with the Council of the Aging that we want to do some collaborations with, and we met this fantastic feisty older woman who's in the arts, and she's going to have an arts-led aging revolution. She said the youth had their revolution in the 60s, particularly through the arts and music. We're going to have a revolution in the 2020s of folk who are aging via the arts. Yeah. Good. Yes. Yeah, good point. Yeah, good point. It would be the baby boomers. Yeah, they just want to keep revolutioning. Do you know what? That didn't occur to me, but you're absolutely right. Oh my God, we're going to have all these grey nomads smoking dope and waving placards again. Well, I did like that idea though, like revolution, storming of the Bastille and all that. Okay, fantastic. Roll up to sitting and standing. Feel really, if you can feel tired, but feel like you've really had a fantastic week. Oh, fantastic week, my friends. Fantastic week. Well done, you. Jenny and Ruth and I will clap you. Yay. Really good. Really good. Thank you. It's great. I tell you, there's no better job than witnessing this kind of stuff, really. Normally, I